Food. It's the cheeseburger that we get from McDonald's and the pizza that we eat at a party. But where does it all come from? How does it get to us? Most people don't know this. The ones that do probably don't know where it came from before there were feedlots and massive slaughterhouses. How did our ancestors get their food? This is the history of food.
Food, a word we all know and something we all need to live. It may have a bigger impact on our history than you think. Everything about a society depended on its food. The population number, the ability to settle down, having time to make other innovations and advancements in society. There has been food inequality throughout history, ever since agriculture began. Some people have more access to food than others. If we want to have a better future for food, we need to look at the past and find solutions so there isn't as much inequality in the world today.
In the beginning of human history, it was very difficult to get food. People were hunters and gatherers and had to move constantly to get the food. They had no control over where they got their food and where their food came from. As hunters and gatherers, they didn't have time to improve their tools, weapons, or make a lot of new innovations, until they figured out that if they planted a seed from a plant and came back later on, it would grow. They started to take care of their crops and clear more land for them. They also started domesticating animals for meat, dairy, and transportation. Having crops and domesticated animals at all times allowed them to have more food security and settle down in one place.
Agriculture had allowed people to settle down. Now they had more food and didn't have to spend all of their time getting food. They could do other things and create new innovations. This led them to inventing the wheel, discovering fire, and improving agriculture. The wheel was an important discovery because it allowed them to transport food and other things faster and more easily. Fire was important because it allowed them to cook their food. They improved agriculture by creating new methods such as irrigation. This allowed them to get water to their crops when there was no rain or not enough of it.
Later on in food history, the land in the Fertile Crescent became depleted of its nutrients due to growing crops on the soil constantly. They needed to move. Since Eurasia is longer horizontally than vertically, they moved east to west. This benefited them because the climate and the vegetation were similar, so they could use similar or the same crops and the same methods of farming. This allowed them to spread their ways of farming to other civilizations. This would have allowed more people to continue the improvement of agriculture.
The ancient Mesopotamians had geographic luck when they were living in the Fertile Crescent, and then when they were spreading their farming practices. This happens in many places in history and today. The USA has geographic luck because it is at a similar climate and latitude to Europe. So when they came and colonized it, they were able to bring their domesticatable animals and also their crops here. But some places do not have geographic luck. Papua New Guinea, for example, doesn't have any large domesticatable animals, besides the pig, which is brought there from Asia. Since pigs can't pull things, the hard labor has to be done by humans. Also, the crops of New Guinea don't offer a lot of nutrients and take a lot of calories to harvest. Many people there have deficiencies because of this.
A potential solution to global food inequality is to support local and organic farms, also by organizing more farmers markets and more food hubs. Restaurants could buy more fresh food from these farms and pay them more so that they could stay in business. As Americans, we need to show less support for the large corporations who use lots of chemicals and don't treat their animals right, and also have to ship their food long distances. Using chemicals can be harmful to the food and to you. If the animals aren't treated right and have to live in a feedlot, it isn't healthy for the animal or for you. Also, if you have to ship the food, then you will be emitting extra greenhouse gases that are unnecessary and could be stopped. We could also stop trying to develop farmland. We are always losing farmland and need that land in order to produce better food. Also, we could stop using corn and altering it. Food inequality is worldwide. Even in our hometown or state, food inequality exists. In RI, there are programs such as Farm Fresh RI that focus on helping to end food inequality. Food inequality is when people with higher incomes or people of the higher class have more access to food that's healthy and local than people with lower incomes. You can get a 16-ounce water bottle for $1.99 or two 2-liter sodas for the same price. The problem is that the soda is much worse for you than the water bottle. This happens in our eye as well. The other problem is that most of our population in the lower class, we can't afford to support local farms that need the money to keep farming, so we lose the local food altogether. Most people can't afford this food and are forced to eat highly unhealthy food that is highly processed, which can result in major corporations getting more money to make more unhealthy food. Also, Rhode Island is a small state, which means that there is not much farmland. The farmland that is here is very expensive for this reason. It costs much more to purchase 200 acres of land here than it would in Iowa, where farmland is everywhere. There are solutions, however, to solve food inequality. Farm Fresh RI have the SNAPS program, where they give you a bonus to your food stamps. If you have $5 in food stamps, they will give you 40% extra, giving you $7. This program is a start to fixing food inequality. We also could make the government give more money to local farms so they could reduce the prices instead of giving money to major companies. And we can make farmers markets more available to the community.
Local food inequality is when people in a small community don't have the same access to food as others. It exists because some places can't grow food or because it's a populated area, such as a city. We can solve this by supporting our local farms, starting programs like Farm Fresh RI and others that help give people more access to local food. Another solution is to educate people about food so they can make smarter decisions as consumers.
As you can see, food has had quite the history. By 2050, scientists have predicted that the population will have increased to 9 billion people, but we will need double the food we are producing today. If we are going to meet this amount, then we will have to change how we get our food, how much we eat, and where we get it from. If we don't make these necessary changes, then we will have to destroy more rainforests to get more farmland, and there won't be enough room to build cities for our growing population, neither of which are good for food security and sustainability. If we want to be more sustainable, we need to improve our whole food system.